I remember when I was buying because I was early. It was like 19. I was buying smartphones, and it was pricey. But I was buying it.
Whoa. Let me correct you there. Moon, you weren't buying nothing smart. You were buying whatever.
No, they was at the time. It was called a smartphone, bro. You had web browsing capabilities. You had remember the ringtones. You had the ringtones. You had to customize the ringtones. They were smart. They were smart.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now?
Welcome everybody. It's your boy Captain Crypto, 1/3 of the Whale Rockets, here bringing y'all more insight, more information, more crypto knowledge. All right, I'm with my partners, my main two, my man Moon. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Feeling good. Feeling great. How about you?
Always, all the time. My man Moose, how you doing?
What's up, Cap? It's always another good day, man. Another good day with you fine gentlemen.
You know, hey, man, I woke up this morning and straight up, I'm feeling good, especially after a couple of our conversations, Moon. I'm feeling pretty good. And part of the reason is there's a lot of sales going on, you know, and if you look at the big picture of things, there's very much a big sale going on, okay, throughout all of every assets, you know, every last space that we're in, including crypto.
Yep.
It's a lot of sales going on other than real estate. Okay. Real estate
it's going to catch up. It's going to catch up.
Real estate, food, cars, vehicles, all of those things are still extremely high. But as far as our assets are concerned, you know, the market, it's getting, sales are on. It's time to start accumulating. So the question we have for y'all today, one of them, at least, is what part of the 5 stages of technology adoption is crypto really in right now? And here we're going to present you with a couple of charts that shows the 5 different stages. We've got the innovators. Okay, now that was what would you say the innovator is, Mo?
It's about innovators are people like the founders of Cardano, the founders of Ethereum. It's only about 2.5% of the people are innovators. I mean, the people that just believed early on and didn't believe what the mainstream media was telling them about it's the FUD about this is only for illegal usage and drugs and weed and all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. So those people that got in real early.
Then you got the early adopters, right? Early adopters. Then you got the early majority.
But they also call them the visionaries, the early adopters. They call them visionaries as well.
Okay. Then we got early majority. Okay. Late majority, and then the laggards, those that you knew resented using a cell phone when the entire world was using the cell phone, right? Even myself, right? Like I was a laggard when it came to Facebook and all the social media.
Yeah.
Right?
You just now got a Twitter.
Because man,
that's wild, man.
Wasn't part of that wasn't my lane.
Everybody was like, man, wonder what happened to Kyle. We can't find him on Facebook. He never had one.
Never had.
But you know,
tell them the percentage of the people that for each of those 5, just to let them know, get a good visual.
Well, okay. So my man caught me where I don't have that chart up. So how about you tell them about the percentage?
Okay. So the innovators are about 2.5%. The early adopters are 13.5%. All right. So now that's only about 16% of people that are early into the game. Now everybody else, that's the mainstream ones. Everybody else gets in. The early majority is 34%. The late majority is another 34%, and then the people that just
34. Are you accumulating these?
So like we'd be at
all to 100%, right?
Okay.
So the laggards that just like my boy Cap was with Twitter and all social media, they're the 16%.
So to clarify, to make this, So if you're at that third part, the early majority part, that's roughly about 50-ish%.
About 16% of people in the world.
But they get in around that phase, but around the 16% plus the 30% of the early adopters and then the 5% innovators or whatever.
No.
Make up the 50%.
The 16% is the early adopters and the innovators together.
Okay, so that's 16%. The early majority is how many people?
34%. 34. So that'd be 50%. That would be the early majority, the early adopters, and innovators. So 50% of people would be in at that point.
All right, so we're on the same page. It's accumulating.
Okay, all right. So, okay, then you got the laggards that make up like what?
So the late majority would be once the late majority gets in, it's 84%, and then the laggards are 16%. They just
the laggards are a small number. I got you.
Right. So, hey, man, a good question. What phase and this is a good big picture question, right? You could ask this same question on this year's bear market and bull market, right? And what stage of it are we in? It's going to be different than when you see what stage we're in as far as timing of adoption of this technology. So there's a big difference. Let's be clear. And I think it's really easy to blur the lines and get muddy when you think of the cycle like the cycle and growth in the actual market cap of that token versus the growth of use cases and that actually adopting the technology in society for a reason aside from what the current reasons are now. I won't go into those details. So where do you think we're at now? I'm gonna start with you, Moose. Where do you think, big picture, Bitcoin's been around, crypto's been around for, let's just call it 12 years. Where are we at today?
Man, me and Moon talked earlier and we were on the same page, but I'm a pump fake hezzy. I'm gonna go the other way, man. I'm gonna say we're early majority, man. Listen, there's a lot of people who have absolutely no idea what Bitcoin actually does or is. And I've talked to these individuals, but they own a piece of it. And so for me, man, that tends to tell me we're creeping into the early majority range, man. I don't think it's fully matured. I think there's still, but I think if you ask me what phase we're going through at the moment, I think we have made that push into early majority, man. You see commercials now for crypto everywhere. Hell,
it was the main commercial of the Super Bowl, right? Like it was.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron James got a commercial. You've got sponsorships.
The Lakers arena is named after Crypto.com.
Yeah, there you go.
They call it the Crypt now as a nickname. It's called the Crypt instead of the Sacred.
Yeah, and I mean, if you watch any financial show Monday through Friday, Squawk Box, any of the prominent financial analysts, crypto is talked about every single day. There's not a day that financial sector doesn't hit on crypto. So for me, I think we're in the early majority, man. Still a long ways to go. This range could last another 4 or 5 years. Who knows? 10 years. I don't know. But I would say we're definitely in that phase now.
That's a great point, man. I think I feel almost like very same sentiments, man. And it sucks when you look at the chart, but then you pull up the other chart and you look at how crypto is in comparison to all the other technological adoptions throughout the history of mankind. And you see how small it's like a blip on the radar, right? Like you don't even see it. And granted, that was some years ago where that data showed.
About 10 years ago.
So
give or take.
So then, hey, that would add up, man. If you look at that chart, man, that kind of adds up to early majority. 10 years ago, you're sitting, man, that looks like about 10%.
It was at 5%, bro. So how much is
adoption and innovators right there, right?
Yeah, that was the innovators. That was the innovators. I mean, it wasn't even hardly 5%.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing is the cycle, you still could see prices of certain things. Like we touched the top of the market in the early adoption phase of let's just call it Bitcoin, right? The early adoption phase at the peak, Bitcoin had reached 17, right? And here we are in the early majority phase and we're seeing 17, right? Like, isn't that kind of crazy? Like,
but we've touched at 68 though. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I think that's the other piece of the puzzle that we probably won't get answered today, but what does the adoption curve cycle look like in relation to price? I mean, pricing, and naturally you would think it means, hey, the longer the curve goes, the higher the price. But that may not be the case, man. You may have to catch. I don't know. Like, is there a cap, a period? I mean, what are we dealing with?
Well, and that's like, if you think of crypto's whole purpose, like in order for the price to pump, then the use case has to pump, right? Or like people actually needing to buy it, right? Like Cardano, the reason that pumped when people started purchasing Cardano, holding it, not selling it, and more people try to purchase Cardano to sell pressure or purchase pressure, supply and demand, the simple economics, right?
Well, I think we're in the early adopters. I was kind of like teetering between early majority until I seen that chart of technology adoption, and I seen that 10 years ago we were just only like 5% into the adoption of Bitcoin and crypto in general. So 10 years from now, where we are right now, it only makes sense that we'll be at the next stage. I don't see how we could have jumped early adopters that quickly in just a 10-year period. Yeah. And on top of that, we still at the point we're trying to convince people to use crypto. That's the main thing. You tell people you use crypto, I don't know about that.
I don't think convince them to use it. More so, convince them it ain't FUD. It ain't no fraud.
Right? Yeah, that is not a fraud. Right.
And I think that's the problem, man. I think it's more so we're always convincing people to buy crypto, but I think this is just me. Most people, if they legitimately could use something and it made their life convenient, I think eventually they'd move to use it. They might be slow with it, but right now,
right, and that's the late majority.
Yeah.
Cell phones came out when? When did the let's just Google
in the 80s, man.
So, right. My point exactly.
Nobody wanted to carry around a briefcase with this big old, you had to open it up and it
1973 Motorola.
73. Okay,
right. That was first cell phone.
First cell phone.
All right,
cell phone call.
But was it?
No. But what about when it was sold to the public? They weren't using it. You used to have to carry my mother-in-law tells me how she had to carry around this little briefcase, and it had the cell phone in it, and it was like a car phone or whatever. She could like whip it out and then make a call.
What year was that?
80s, man.
The 80s.
It says the 90s is around the year mobile users was around 11 million, and by 2020 the number had risen to 2.5 billion. So in 20 years, we went from 11 million users to 2.5 billion users.
There we go. And we only went 10 years from that 2010 mark from the innovators.
Right.
So, but it's one of those things. But again, that's just use case. Let's just say, the price. I mean, cell phones have the cell phone prices. I don't know that they're more expensive in compared with inflation and everything now, but I mean, the newest iPhone is going to run you $1,000. The newest Galaxy phone run you $600-700. I mean, their prices now, man.
But that was blasphemy. If you tell me somebody back then was paying that type of money for a cell phone, not the case at all.
He was paying about $500. You was paying about $400-500 for a smartphone.
I disagree.
It was a status symbol at the time. You got to remember, smartphones were a status symbol. It wasn't so much a need. It was a status symbol.
All right, I was completely wrong. Phones were priced anywhere between $1,000 to $1,900.
Yeah, man,
I remember when I was buying mine, because I was early. It was like 19. I was buying smartphones, and it was pricey. But I was buying it.
Whoa, let me correct you there. Moon, you weren't buying nothing smart. You were buying whatever.
No, they was at the time. It was called a smartphone, bro. You had web browsing capabilities. You had remember the ringtones. You had the ringtones. You had to customize the ringtones. They were smart. They were smart.
Or Snake on there.
No, it didn't have. No, it didn't. It didn't. It was. Yeah,
you talking about the razors and the edges and stuff and the boost.
Yeah, you literally had internet on there. But I don't know how y'all don't remember that.
But no, I remember. I just messed with you. But I guess what I look at is, man, you have the
now you need a smartphone now. Like literally, you just about need a smartphone if you're gonna do anything.
But
that's what we mean by delayed adoption.
But dig this though, like Motorola is still in business, right? And if you were an investor in Motorola back then, you would have went through the cycle of
boom and bust.
And right now, Motorola investment wise is a bust, but it's still a company. And so I say all that to say, at what point do you get in and out of Bitcoin?
But wait. That's the thing though. We just narrowed it down to Motorola. Now, we could say the same thing about Singular. Well, I think that it changed into.
They've been bought out.
They changed into AT&T, right? So, but either way, so you could say that about AT&T, right? Because remember, Verizon had the market cornered. Now AT&T, I think, is the most widespread one out of all of them, or something like that. So, or T-Mobile, one of them. So you don't look at just the one that failed. Look at the ones that got bigger.
Well, but I think you have to look at the ones that failed, because if you were to go back into the 80s and stuff and really look at the cell phone inventors and stuff, then hardware wise, as far as investment, man, a lot of them guys probably aren't around. That's the reality of it, and that's fine. It didn't stop the technology.
No, they're here. They're not the biggest player in the market.
But if they're not the biggest player, as an investor, if you didn't pull out at some point,
if you invested early, yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you didn't take, and that's all I'm saying. Like, take your profit. You're saying take your profits.
Yeah, like for instance, like let's say you got in Bitcoin at 45,000, and you didn't take profit at 68. Now it's at 17, and man, you'd hope it goes back up to 100, but maybe what if it only goes back up to 90? You'll still make some money. It's just one
double
of those
your
things.
Money.
Yeah. I'm just saying, though, it's one of those things where, like, man, I think you have the investment side of it, and then you have the adoption, and I think they're two separate things. I don't think they're exactly apples to apples, if that makes sense.
They're not apples to apples, but they are
correlated. They strongly correlated. Thank you. Like you can't really have a product that it's called an overvaluation if nobody's using it and the price goes up. Right? It's called an undervaluation if a lot of people are using it and the price is low. So the market always tells the truth, bro.
But you're right in a sense, but at the same time, Moose's point of I like the next Solana is going to come out of nowhere. The next, what was the name of that?
Are they going to be here though?
Who knows? We're
talking about solid projects. I think ETH is going to be here. I think Cardano is going to be here. Algo could be here. Bitcoin.
ETH is like the Microsoft, if you ask me. Right? They're one of the pioneers, and they're one of the ones that are probably stick around. Yeah. Right. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, they're one of the ones that are solid, and they're here to kind of stay. I can see that. I mean, a lot of development is happening on ETH and all that stuff, and I just think you got a lot to really consider, man. When if what to choose the right one, right? And then if you're going to ride it out forever, you want to look at it as an investment. You got to be still diligent, because even though we're early in the space, that doesn't mean another company can't be birthed out of left field and just dominate the space,
So Cap, let me make sure I got it right. So believe, Cap, Moose, you believe we're early majority. Cap, you believe we're where? I believe we're early adopters. And where did you say?
I think we're still in early majority right now.
All right. So you think you're early part of early majority, and I think we're late part of early adopters. And Moose, you think early in the early majority or late in the early majority?
I think early in the early majority, because there's not enough grandparents for me, man. Like 1 out of 10. So
grandmas and grandpas.
All right, the grandmas and grandpas. Here we go.
All right. But hey, they do hold a value in this conversation of what, adoption, because you see how they're using cell phones now, right? They're using the technology.
Yeah, they are laggard like you in the social media.
yeah. Lagging into the next topic, man. What's this next topic?
What's the next?
So all that being said, man, we got psychology of crypto as the next topic, man. We experienced this week a dead cat bounce.
Why does this work?
What the psychology?
Yeah, why does this dead cat bounce always work on us?
Okay. So the dead cat bounce, right? Dead cat bounce and the history and the psychology behind the dead cat bounce and what that means, right? So a dead cat bounce is essentially when the price is attempting to reach the previous and break the previous high.
Low? High. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it's trying to break the previous high in that.
Yeah, it's trying to recover.
Right. It looks like a recovery. Essentially, that's what it looks like. But as many people,
as soon as you buy it,
exactly.
What happens? What happens?
As soon as you put your money in there, because you think, oh my God, I got this again. This fear of missing out. Right. I got to put my money in it. You put your money in it, and the price starts tumbling back down. This is a bait and trick. This is a switch. This is the whole thing that these big whales, big money, they
love doing it.
They do it. And it's because they know you're going to feel like, oh, this is about to recover. This is about to go up. You better catch it before it doesn't, There's a lot of things that show that the bottom is in, but the psychology is the biggest part you got to practice your game plan. If your game plan was to dollar cost average. If your game plan was to buy a specific amount on a specific day of the month, do that and stick to it. You can't keep changing up just because of that emotion, which will make you lose every single time. Moon, what do you think of that emotion, man? I mean, I've been burned.
Why do I think it works? Man, this is weird, man. It's like they say, the devil has no new tricks. Why do the whales have to learn anything new? You could see, and it's crazy because you could see everything on fire around you. You ever seen that meme when they say people with crypto and then everything's burning around them and they're like, oh, this is cool. And then people with stocks, they're like jumping out the window. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I think in this space, we're so used to it's just going to recover. No problem. Bitcoin's going back to 80,000. Anyway, what? So we're so used to hearing that we just believe it. And I don't know if it's because we're following influencers or we just delusional. But at this point, being in this space longer, I'm like, okay, I know that there is no reason for this pump. So for me, I don't jump in like this last time when Bitcoin went up to 22, 23. I can't remember it, and it fell right back down to 17 immediately. It does it so fast. I'm like, I'm not falling for it. If there's no reason for this pump, they're not getting me. But why does it work? Because people are like, man, I don't want to miss out if it does shoot up to 40, 50K real quick. Even if it does retrace all the way back down to 20K. And I think that's why it works, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it works because it works. I mean, it ain't never not worked. And that's what...
they take your money real quick.
But to everybody's goal and effort to try to snipe that bottom and get in before it just starts ripping, 1% of people catch that. That trade where you get in there right before it just starts ripping. But then, it could go either way. So always just hedge your bets. And you believe in the fact that you're an early adopter. You should have some early exposure at multiple different price points. But Moose, what you think, man?
Man, I just think that I think if you're an experienced trader, you understand this. And I think if you're still getting bit by the swings and the psychology of the market, you're probably a very inexperienced trader, man. That's just it. That's just it, man. I enjoy the roller coaster swings, man. When I see notifications of Bitcoin down 5%, in my head mentally, I know in about 10 days it's going to go back up 5%. And so it helps swing traders. But yeah, man, if you're a very inexperienced trader or you're just new to it altogether, you'll get got, man. Or you'll get got real quick. Yeah. So, and the whales and institutional guys, they understand that they're not. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. The markets always move like this. But if you're an inexperienced trader, you'll get got, man. I think that's more so what messes up the psychology of the market and investors is they haven't done research, they haven't studied or put in time. They buy something and they just know they want it to go up, and it'll mess with your head bad if that's your goal, man.
Yeah, it's because it's called gambling. It's like, hey, you hope that you roll a 7 when they hand you the dice, or an 11, right? So it becomes a gamble. But if you feel like you're an early adopter, then why not have the exposure throughout the times where markets are bad? It's volatility, and that's part of the beauty of being an early adopter. And a lot of skeptics stay out, and then they got a bad look on their face when prices start to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Right.
So here we got some FUD in the news, man. Congressman in California, Brad Sherman, says there's no social value at all in crypto, and it's only good for tax evasion. So you hear this and you just hear us talk about the FUD or the skepticism that's involved when you are in this space. Why is there still so much FUD against Bitcoin in governments? Like, what's the purpose?
Yeah, some of it for me is I just think that some of them are out of touch. I think there's just a lot of moving parts. Like we got understand that not everybody in government is lockstep, right? So for one senator, I want to slow down the adoption so I could get my hands in the pie so I could get some money. The other ones are just old and out of the loop, and they're just like, this thing, I don't know what this is, but I don't like it, and they can't even really tell you why they don't like it. And for others, I think maybe they're just doing what their constituents in their area is saying.
Yeah.
So it really just depends, but it just seems like it's more FUD than not at the moment. And I'm like, why still at this point, even with everything we see going on in the space, Visa card, MasterCard, all these places jumping on.
Right. So I think a lot of it has to do with the money, man. You follow the money. Think of it. The lobbyists won't start pushing until there's a reason, right? Right now, some of the people that have money grandfathered in the traditional financial system they're the ones who got those senators elected. And those are the ones who are still lobbying for some of the traditional financial stuff. So until some of these new congressmen get elected that are pro, or congresswomen that are pro crypto and pro, DeFi, I think that's where you're going to start to see them pushing it. And then once they start pushing it, they're pushing it to the feds saying, we need this, we need that. And regulation birthed, even stronger. So that's my 2 cents. Moon, what you think, bro? I'm sorry, Moose.
I think you couldn't have said it any better, Cap. Yeah, man, these guys are locked into these congressmen and stuff. I don't think they're anti-crypto. You just got to look at it. They're heavily over leveraged in the traditional financial system, as most of us are. And so, depending on how old these individuals are, maybe a lot of them are closer to retirement age. Really, there's no incentive to them moving to crypto. It's in their best interest.
That's a good point.
It's in their best interest to kind of ward off crypto, maybe for the next 20 years for them, if they can help it. Because the traditional money system it benefits them, man. It's too easy.
Yeah. So, and it again boils down, follow the money, and your answers will sort of form right before you, man. But one thing we know for certain is, crypto it's not a flash in the pan. It ain't going to be, here for the season. It's here for the long haul. It's just a matter of which one of these tokens are going to prevail. So do your own research, check it out, make sure you know what's going on. In the meantime, keep your head right. Get in this space, learn it. And to the next one. Moon, Moose, Whale Rockets, your boy Captain, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Got it, man.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig